Let's switch gears now, Alex, if you don't mind. And I'd like to ask you about our program in January. So coming up in just 4 weeks, you'll be here in
Yes,
Marin, and we'll have these
yes.
three concerts with the Marin Symphony,
Hmm.
three wonderful works. And I just wanted to ask you to speak briefly about each of them.
We closed the program with Elgar, and the reason why I chose Elgar is also for that the reason of trying to find his voice. He always felt like an outsider, and even though now when you think in Elgar, you think in British sound, his influences were not British at all. Like he was, influenced by all European music that was happening at that time. And but in the end of the day, he created his own voice. And even though he felt an outsider, his voice became um the British voice, so to speak. Like we all, when we think in British music, romantic music, classical music, especially, we think in Elgar. You know, that's something that's, at least for me, it's remarkable. So I think that the thread of the concert is that, is like people finding their own voices, succeeding, believing in that, and that becoming bigger than they thought that was gonna be. Like that's it's a very interesting. There are layers and layers and layers of this programming that is very fascinating for me as well.
And in each case, voices that reflect the culture that they were
Yeah, yeah,
in
yeah.
and that came to represent that culture.
Yes, exactly. Like intentionally or unintentionally, that with the Grieg, like he intentionally brought folk songs to his music, and that was an homage to his own people. And in the case of Elgar, but the same thing with Marquez, but the thing with Elgar is like he was struggling. He wanted to find his own voice, and he was picking. It was more like a global thing that became a traditional British sound. Then he actually being inspired by the own roots. It's a very interesting comparison that we have. That's why I said it's a completely different um, composers, but also different ways to finding their voices.